This particular discussion is called idle class syndrome or privileged class syndrome, whatever you want to call it. It's quite interesting to me in some ways. Maybe you recognize this or maybe you don't, but let's get the topic underway. Idle class syndrome or privileged class syndrome is something I've become familiar with living in the area that I live in, which I'm not going to disclose to you because I'm trying to stay anonymous, keep it covert. I want to stay out of the public eye. All you get is my voice. But anyway, idle class syndrome. These are men. I'm going to talk about men in this because this is the man tricks. We're talking about the manosphere. This is to help men. You will get men who are from privilege, middle class, sort of, or upper class. What the privilege will do to the man is it will, if he's not careful, it will rob him of certain masculine traits. It will rob him of certain traits which will enable him to be strong and robust, resilient, obstinate. It will rob him of traits which will actually benefit him later in life. So idle class syndrome or privileged class syndrome is when a man is coddled and spoiled in his younger years. A lot of these men will grow up in very abundant living conditions. They will have mothers who have really looked after them, fathers who have been really good to them. They've been bought many things. They've been sent to the best schools. They've gone to the best universities. Their university was paid for. They finish university. They get given money to get a house. They get money to get given a car. They just get lots of privileges. But the problem with giving too much privilege to a man is he never really grows up. He becomes the man child. And I think these parents don't realise what they are doing to these men or boys. Maybe it's lack of education. It's lack of something. It's a lack of vision and understanding of psychology, in my opinion, because these men do not form the same toughness and resilience of men who have had far less. Sometimes scarcity and pain and suffering and having nothing is good for a man because it will force the man to develop certain strong attributes and traits. So you've got to be really careful. You know, some of the men who are listening to this will be from tough backgrounds, working class backgrounds. They'll be from, scarcity, and they will be impoverished. They will be in destitution. They'll be living in a shit area of a city or a town, or they will come from a broken home. But some men will be from more middle class, upper class backgrounds where it's abundant. But you've got to be really careful. This is aimed at the guys who are from backgrounds which are more abundant and privileged, where you have everything given to you. You've got to be careful because it will make you weak. If you do not understand what is happening, it will weaken you. It will emasculate you. The mother will emasculate you because she will give you too much. She will coddle you. You will also get emasculated by the father because he will buy you too many things. He'll pay for too many things. It will nullify a man's ability to progress in many cases, and that is what this particular syndrome is. Idle class syndrome or privileged class syndrome. You can call it whatever you want, but I think you get the point. I think a lot of men now are being coddled too much. They have too much privilege. The mother and the father are being a little bit too nice, a little bit too good. It's too fruitful. It's too abundant. Too much stuff is getting paid for. I believe for men to grow and to be strong and to develop certain traits, there needs to be scarcity. There needs to be some pain. There needs to be some suffering. There needs to be failure. Now, why do I know this? Because I know from my own experience. This is the bit I'm getting to. From my experience, I lived in scarcity. I was often... I was one of the kids back in the day when I was training to be a football player. I had nothing. All the other kids, they would get a new bike, they would have new clothes, their houses would be really nice and all the garden would be good, and they would always have really nice cars. I remember I would always get jealous. I'd be jealous of my friends because they had, my mate had got a new bike, or my mate would get picked up from school in a really nice car, and I remember how it made me feel. It made me feel inadequate. It made me feel like I had lack of. It made me feel scarcity. But what it also did is it made me into a different person, because I didn't have all these things that my friends had. I became tougher. I became stronger. I had more tenacity, I had more will, I had more power. I was training more with football. I was training every day. I out-trained all my friends when it came to football. I out-trained every kid at school, I remember. In my secondary school, which had probably a population of about 1,200, I out-trained all the boys in there who were trying to be footballers. I out-trained everyone. And I believe it was because I was in a place of lack of. I didn't have the same resources and finances and comfort of the other kids. So I developed all these other personality traits. It made me more disciplined. It made me train more. It made me work harder. It made me tougher. It made me into the fucking egomaniac I am today, because I had the fire inside me to push forward. So all the guys are out there who are in scarcity listening to this. If you're in the ends, in the hood, wherever you are, if you're in some shitty little town and you hate it, if you're in some shitty 9-to-5 job and it's driving you mad, if you're from a broken home, remember, use it as your tool. Use it as your companion. It's your ally. All the toughness, all the shit, all the sludge and the blackness and the darkness, all that malaise that you're in, that's your ally. Because if you use it as leverage, you can use it to your advantage. You can use it to power yourself forward. So that's my message to the people who are impoverished, who are in a shit situation. Remember, if you're in the gutter, use it to your advantage. Anyone who's ever made anything of their life has been in the gutter. Trust me. Look at fucking Mike Tyson. Look at, I don't know, pick out people. Ronaldo, the footballer, he lived in the shit, didn't he? He lived in a shitty area, whatever. Maradona. The list can go on and on with this. So use it to your advantage. Remember, the discomfort, the feeling like you're in a bad situation, all that you can learn from it. It will teach you something about yourself. Like you can inculcate and integrate certain characteristics which will teach you to overcome these situations and actually make something of yourself and get yourself out of it. So that's my message to those people, is use it to your advantage. To the people who are in a more privileged situation, recognise it. Recognise it and acknowledge it, and don't allow the comfort of privilege to squash all your potential, your masculine traits. If you keep going back to your mum's house, or you keep asking your dad for money, you need to stop that shit. You need to get away from your parents, and you need to be on your own. You need to not take handouts, and you need to start to develop some traits of independence, of scarcity. Because I can give you an example. You can give a man £1 million, and you can see what sort of person he ends up being just from giving it to him. Or you can have another man, and you can say to him, you have to make £1 million. Those two characters will both have £1 million at the end of the day, but the one who has made the £1 million will have such a different character. He will have such a different journey to the one who's just been given the £1 million. Because the journey of making the £1 million, the exploration of his psyche, of all the attributes that he has to attain on the way, are absolutely incredible. It's something which is so valuable. You do not ever want to be given £1 million. Trust me, I know that sounds ridiculous. You do not want to be given £1 million. If you had the choice, I would say you need to make the £1 million, because you will learn so much on the way. So the message is to anyone who's being coddled or living in too much comfort, you need to recognize it. You need to identify it and start to remove yourself from that comfort and that privilege and start to make things for yourself. You have to do that. Men have to do that, because you will become the man-child. You will be emasculated. You do not want to become the man-child. You want to become some fucking warrior beast of a man who's done it himself. There's nothing wrong with having a bit of help. I'm not saying don't have any help, but I'm saying you have to recognise it. You know, so many men get coddled and given shit. So many men. And like I said before, it robs them of certain traits, masculine traits. And you see them later in life, and they're always depressed, and they're always dour and foreboding and slightly broken. And I believe part of the reason why they end up like that is because they've had too much privilege, too much comfort. Too many things have been given to these guys. Anyway, I hope this helps. I can expand on it more. Leave some messages in the comments. If you want me to talk about any other subjects which might help you on your journey, just let me know. Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.